Today we are going to be having Deputy Bird share with us his presentation on juuling. I feel like this is a really important presentation for all of our students, not just my 8th grade health students, because a lot of our students have a lot of free time where they may be unsupervised, and let's face it, you have a lot of time to think, a lot of time to be on Facebook and be pressured by your friends to do some things that maybe you ordinarily wouldn't do. So I think now is a great time to have a presentation, some education on juuling. This is something that we would usually have in our 7th, 6th week of D.A.R.E. In the 8th grade health program. So here is Deputy Bird.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about the dangers of vaping and what it does to your body and some of the things that a lot of people don't know. I even give this to adults because they don't always know what they're getting into. Yeah, we've heard a lot about it, especially over the last couple of years, but a lot of people don't know what it is. Some of you might be doing it now. Some of you might have tried it, but you don't know what you're getting yourself into. So today I'm going to tell you, so afterwards, you at least know what you're doing. It's your choice, but I want you to think about what your choice is bringing to you, all right? So first off today, we're going to talk about JUUL. JUUL is a brand just like Nike and Under Armour are brands, all right? They own the majority of the population of vaping. So if I say JUUL, I also kind of mean vaping because they are the biggest brand out there, all right? So we're going to talk about what that looks like a little bit. What does it look like? A USB, right? Absolutely. Do you think this was designed on purpose? I kind of tend to think so. Why do you think they make it look like this? Here's a better picture of it. As you can see, you can plug it into a laptop, so it looks just like a USB does, all right? But what's the difference between a JUUL and a USB? Do you need to charge a USB? No, you don't. We've actually had a student try this before, a couple years ago, asked the teacher if they could use the computer to charge their USB. Now, when the teacher was talking about this, I said, hold on, they asked to charge a USB, and they were like, yes. I thought, you don't have to charge a USB. I knew right then that it more than likely was a JUUL vaping product. So I asked them, next time that they do this, check it out, see if it looks like this. And I showed them what a JUUL looked like. It was a short time later, they came back to me and said, yes, the student had tried it. Again, I've told you guys this before, people are creatures of habits, and we'll repeat it. And they always think it's interesting when you get one over on a teacher. All right, so that's what this kid thought he was going to do, is get another one. Haha, look at me. I'm able to get it over on the teacher today. They were able to figure out what it was. And it's designed this, because I'll show you a couple other examples of different vaping products out there. But right now, we're going to talk about the JUUL. As you can see, it's long, slim, easy to hide. Teachers don't notice it, adults don't notice it, parents don't notice it. All right, and then you have what they call a pod here. They're small, and you'll see them on top here, that hold the juices or the chemicals. And we'll talk about those juices here in a little bit. And then there's the charger that charges it. All right, JUUL was worth about $38 billion back in July. And if you remember, it started getting a lot of popularity. All right, and now it's about $24 billion. So they own 70% of the market. That is a lot. So 7 out of 10 kids in this room would be using JUUL as their vaping product. All right, why is that? I think it goes back to the way they advertise and how their device looks and makes it easy to conceal to parents and teachers. Here's some of the other products that are out there. All right, you have pens, you have boxes or tanks that they're called, and if you notice it also lately that's come out is a cell phone holder style of vaping product. Okay, you also have a little one here. They're only a couple inches. So they started taking on what JUUL has as a way of trying to conceal it and hide it, all right? Because honestly, we've seen it last year. How close can you get to the teacher without getting caught? Yes, that was a thing, all right? It was easy to hide some of them. Now teachers know what to look for, all right? And hopefully parents will too. So if you notice something about these products, what do they all have on them? Advertisement, just like your t-shirts, just like your shoes, all right? They have your superheroes, they've got your Hello Kitty, Star Wars, NFL teams, basketball teams. They make them in all styles because it's what's popular, it's what sells. Who are they targeting? You guys, exactly. Okay, they're making big money off of this. Again, no difference than t-shirts or tennis shoes. It's all a way to make more money. And as you've seen, Juul makes a lot of money doing this. It's one way they've profited in the last 5 years. All right? So let's talk about this. When they first came out, everybody said, oh, it's so much better than cigarettes. You got to try it. It's a better alternative. Well, after a couple of years of studying, we find out that that necessarily isn't true. It's just as bad for you. Some say it might be worse. It's starting to look that way. We'll see in studies. But one pod, so one of those pods I just showed you with juice in them, equals 200 cigarette puffs, or a whole pack of cigarettes, basically. So does that sound like it's better for you? I don't know. I had a guy once tell me, oh man, I quit smoking. I said, oh, that's good. How'd you quit? Well, I vape. I said, okay, how much do you vape? Well, about 2 pods a day. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I said, how much did you smoke? About a pack a day. And they say the average person who smokes cigarettes is a pack a day smoker. So did his increase or did it decrease? His intake increased, because now he's technically smoking 2 packs of cigarettes because he's doing 2 pods a day. All right? And something very interesting that we found out with the Juul products is they actually have 3 times more nicotine than any other competitor out there in the vaping industry. Why is that? What do you guys know about nicotine? You guys remember from the 5th grade, we talked about this. It's what? It's addicting, right? Makes it harder to stop. Do you think that was done on purpose? I don't know. I'll let you decide. So let's kind of talk a little bit about how these vape pens or tanks or boxes work a little bit. All right? So you have a light that starts up when you start to inhale. It has a battery, and we'll get into these batteries and how they operate a little bit. All right? You have a microprocessor. So it's kind of like a laptop computer. All right? You have a sensor that tells it when it's getting hot, when to cook the juice and heater, and then it turns into what we thought up until about a year ago was a vapor. Everybody remember what a vapor is? If you put something on the stove and boil it and the steam comes up, that's kind of a vapor. What we realized is it's more like an aerosol. So what product might you use that's an aerosol? Girls use this one a lot. My wife uses it at home so much that I make her shut the door when she uses it. All right, hairspray. Absolutely, hairspray is a aerosol. So basically, you take a hairspray, put it in your mouth and spray. It's kind of like the same thing as putting a vaping product into your lungs. All right, we're going to talk about all this. Before we do, we're going to get into some of the companies that you guys may recognize as not only are they cigarette companies, but now they're in the business of vaping. All right, you see Kool has their brand. It's called Blue. Marlboro has the Mark 10, and Camel has theirs. So let's talk about Marlboro a little bit. Over the summer, before Juul started going down, about last spring, about this time, the owners of Marlboro didn't like not making enough money, so they decided to invest in Juul. So now they are into Juul, okay? Business. They own about 30% of the market, and their president of Marlboro, that was the president of Marlboro, he's actually now the president of Juul. And a little interesting fact here is this past October in 2019, Juul was hit with a record service where they have to produce all their marketing. And we're going to talk about that marketing next. They have to turn it over. Why? Well, because the government was afraid they were gearing it towards you guys, you students out there. So let's talk about this side over here is something that we've seen back in the 80s and 90s as advertisement for the cigarette industries. All right, if you know Joe Camel, he was a big thing back when I was growing up. All right, had things such as Camel Cash and all that you could get if you smoked their cigarettes. You could buy all kinds of junk through their catalog. All right, this one's a little bit older, but if you notice, it's the same concept. Okay, we have 2019, 2020 advertisement, 2000 or 80s, 90s, and maybe even older here. All right, it's the same thing. It just went from cigarettes to vaping. Why? Cigarette companies made a lot of money using this, so why not try it again? Okay, again. That's why the government was interested in what they were doing because we've seen such an increase amongst students vaping, all right? Right now they say about 8% of 8th graders vape, okay? That jumps up to almost 20% in 2 years. By 10th grade, now we're at 20%. That's quite a few, all right? So let's talk about some of the flavors that we see that vaping industry does. You have all kinds. You have apple pie, chocolate, strawberry, chicken and waffles. You got chocolate chips. You got bomb pops, those little suckers or popsicles that you can have during the summer. So let's talk about that. The industry of vaping calls their liquid juice. Why do you think they call it juice? Does it sound better than chemicals? Absolutely. Can I go out to my local forest and pick a chicken and waffle out of a tree? No, I can't do that with a bomb pop either, can I? Chicken or chocolate chunks? No. So they call these juices because when you think of juices, we think of orange juice, apple juice, pineapple juice, grape juice, all the good stuff. If we called this a chemical, well, that doesn't sound as good. Who's going to want to say, I got to go get my chemicals to put in my vape? No, I got to go get my juice to put in my vape. It sounds a lot healthier that way. Again, this is a ploy to draw you guys in, all right? So let's talk about some of those chemicals that are in these products that they're trying to sell you, artificial flavors. What are they? Here are a couple. Propylene glycol, all right? If you remember around Halloween time when everybody's trying to do the spooky, scary thing or the graveyard and you have that eerie smoke that comes out of the machine, that's what that is, propylene glycol, all right? There's a lot of big words here, fancy, and I'll try not to mess them up, all right? We all know lead's not good for you. That's another one, okay? Formaldehyde, okay? That's an interesting one. What is formaldehyde? Some of you may have heard it, or it's called embalming fluid. What's it do? Well, when someone passes away, in order to have showing at a funeral home, so people can give their respects to someone who's passed away for their family, they put formaldehyde in them that keeps them, natural process is to decompose, and this helps them keep the body so that doesn't happen. That's something that you want to put in your lungs. Remember, it's an aerosol, so it's going right into your lungs, all right? Paint thinner, all right? That stuff's pretty strong, okay? We have another one, acetone. Girls, you've heard of this one before, but it might have a different name, okay? What would acetone be used for? Nail polish remover, absolutely, okay? So that is a big one. Also, we have one more, liquid nicotine. And again, we talked how nicotine is addictive, and they're saying that liquid nicotine is worse than the regular nicotine that is put in cigarettes. Okay, there's a lot of studies that come out. So one more thing I want to talk about with the ingredients is the disinetol, or as it's also known as popcorn lungs. Some of you may have heard of it. Well, how did it get its name popcorn lungs? Back in the mid-90s, popcorn industry was coming up with ways to sell microwave popcorn in the microwave because the microwave was getting popular. So what they would do is throw, your bag of goodies in there, pop up, and 2 minutes later you got your bag of popcorn. Well, when the workers were making it, they were using this disinetol, which is a buttery flavored chemical on the popcorn. Well, they were finding out that not only were their workers getting sick, but customers started having problems. So the workers there were having such problems with it, they were going to the hospital. So the popcorn industry says, they started looking into it, we can't have this. So it's no longer allowed in popcorn. Guess who's adding it? Absolutely, the vaping industry, all right? So what did it do to the workers? Well, it creates little pivots, little dents in their lungs, and it makes it hard to breathe, all right? Breathing's pretty important. If we stop breathing, what happens? Right, you're no longer gonna be alive. So it kind of looks like this, all right? Here's a 3D version of it. As you can see, it puts little holes. They say it can heal, but it scars up. So instead of your lungs getting bigger breaths, they go smaller breaths. All right, here's an actual lung that you can see the little holes in where they had popcorn lung, making it tough to breathe. All right, again, they say it can heal, but it causes scarring in your lungs, constricting your breathing. All right, here's another one. that recently made the big news in September was all the people that were getting sick from it. All right. So over 2,000, this is January, so we've had a couple months since then, but this is the latest record that I have from the CDC, is that 2,602 have been hospitalized from vaping. All right. They've had at least 27 deaths confirmed to this. I've watched one where a guy from Colorado used to run marathons and hike the mountains, to where now he can't walk more than 20 yards without having to sit down and breathe. He's looking for a double lung transplant because he vaped. And that didn't take years. It took a year or less for him to start changing because he was vaping so much. All right, it is against the law. You do now have to be 21 in order to have any sort of, it's considered tobacco products, so you now have to be 21 as of October. That changed. Federally, it also changed in December, but for Ohio, it was October. You do have to be 21. A couple other things. Last April, counterfeit products were found to be coming through, and they were on their way to Delaware from China, but in Philadelphia, they were intercepted. They had 1,000 counterfeit jewel pods. So you don't necessarily know what you're getting when you buy from a gas station or anything like that. You could be getting an off-brand or something that's made in China or somebody's garage. Matter of fact, also in Ohio on 75, we found in the back of a U-Haul truck in old paint jugs, 5-gallon paint jugs, was something similar to this. They just hadn't put it into the pods or the containers yet. It was in buckets. It was counterfeit vaping products. They're seeing a big rise in that. So you know, just because you're buying it at a store doesn't mean it can be legit. It can be off-brand depending on what they decide they want to buy and make the biggest profit. All right? So something I want to talk about, we'll go back to those batteries. If you remember those batteries that I talked about, remember how I told you that they light up and they're getting that product nice and hot and it makes that vapor, but it's really an aerosol? Well, that battery's getting really hot. If you remember a couple years ago, think back to the cell phone batteries. What did they do? They explode, absolutely. All right? We're seeing that with vaping. If you go on YouTube or the internet, you will find video after video after video of these things blowing up. So much so that the TSA is interested in banning them from being in the airports altogether. They're not allowed on planes now, but not even letting them be in the airport because they are exploding on people's suitcases or the conveyor belts. They're also exploding in people's pants when they put them in there, or maybe in their mouth. There's some nasty pictures out there. If you guys want to find them, they're easy to look up. I'm not trying to make anybody sick, but I'm going to show you a picture of one where, thank goodness, it wasn't in his mouth when it blew up, but it was close to his face. This was a couple years ago, and it's kind of hard to see, but he has little pivots all over his face, and you can see his lips are burnt, so he obviously had it close to his face. That's not acne, all right? He doesn't have a bunch of zits, okay? What it is it's from the battery getting so hot, it exploded, and that is shrapnel from the device that he was using. All right, so much so, this was a couple of years ago now, but he has damage to his eye and he has vision problems where he's technically blind out of the one eye now and he can't see. So not only are these unhealthy for you, but they're also dangerous where they can explode and catch fire and cause major damage to your body when the batteries explode. Again, I thank you guys for listening to me. I just want you to remember that you can now say that you know. When somebody asks you why you vape, you can no longer say, I don't know. It's your choice. It's up to you. I hope your generation stops those percentages. In the next couple of years, we'll see a decline from 20% for 10th graders, maybe to 10%, 8%, and 8th graders from 8%, even lower. It's up to you guys. Have a good day. Thank you.